So here at Fluff News, we like to keep things pretty light and fluffy. But from time to time, there are issues that come up that I feel warrant more discussion. And usually for me, that centers around health. How is this going to affect the health of my loved ones? How is this going to affect the health of my community? We've all been hearing a lot about data centers, and so I invited Julie Auch, our District 18 representative and newly elected county commissioner, here to talk a little bit about data centers. So thank you for being here, Julie.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Yes.
What a pleasure.
Well, thank you. So let's just dive right in.
Okay.
How about you bring us up to speed on what is being proposed with data centers in our community, and just a little bit of, I know you've done a lot of work on this, so let's just dive right in.
Well, I think the biggest thing for people to understand is that there is a petition going around, and we do need as many signatures as possible in order to get this onto the general ballot, the general election ballot coming up November 3rd. And what this will do is it will basically put regulations in place to for people's safety, for people to have a say in how these data centers, if they're going to come to Yankton, how they're going to come to Yankton, and what we're going to allow and what we're not going to allow. Instead of right now, what's happening is data centers are wanting to come to Yankton, and we have nothing in place to protect the people who may or may not have to live by them, may or may not have to listen to them, may or may not have to deal with the extreme heat they give off, and the EMF, the electromagnetic fields that surrounds them, and that the more and more research I'm doing on the data centers and how that penetrates the ground and how it affects the soil, how it affects the farm animals, how it affects the humans that have to actually live within their radius. So this would be a petition that would put regulations in place and ordinances in place in order to say, if you're going to come here, you have to follow our rules.
And that's for people to vote on.
That's for people to vote on.
Letting people find out more for themselves.
Correct.
And see if this is something they would want to come. And if it is something they would want to come, again, here are guidelines for what they can come in and do, and instead of it just being a free-for-all.
Correct. Absolutely. And we also, the county commission also has in front of them a moratorium. Now that moratorium has been in front of them for 6 weeks. We've been waiting for them to vote on this moratorium. And I guess I just got a little impatient and just said, all right, if you're not going to put a moratorium in place to basically say, we're going to put the brakes on any kind of a data center wanting to come to Yankton County, I decided, well, if you're not going to do that, then I can't really trust you to put ordinances in place to regulate them. So what a moratorium does is it basically, in South Dakota law, allows a county to say, well, we're gonna put together some rules and regulations for whatever it is that's coming into our county. We're gonna take 12 months to do that. Then we're gonna reevaluate, and if we need another 12 months, we can do that. But our county, like I said, our commissioners have had this in front of them for 6 weeks, and they've been dilly-dallying around, and they have not voted on it for whatever reason. And I just said, okay, well then we're gonna petition. We're gonna say, since you are refusing to vote on the moratorium, you're not willing to vote on the moratorium, we're going to put it to a vote of the people, and then they can decide whether or not they want to regulate these data centers or not.
And it is a little surprising because I did go to the county commission meeting last month, and there were quite a few people there.
Yes.
I would say 99% of them were concerned about the possibility of a data center coming here. So I was surprised with no response on the moratorium.
Correct.
Well,
I think the biggest thing that we have to understand that, number one, are our county commissioners actually listening to the voice of the people, or are they listening to the big corporate, whatever if it's on a CO2 pipeline or a industrial wind park or a solar farm or whatever they want, I don't call them farms, or solar panels covering up precious farm ground. The new thing is data centers, and it's all about how are they getting benefit from the federal government as far as tax dollars. These data centers up until 2030, if they build a data center, they will be able to write off all of the expenses that go into building that data center as long as it's up and operational by 2030.
So that's a little bit of the rush.
It is a little bit of the rush, yes.
So with all of your work, because you can really do a deep dive, and there's a lot of really great information out there. There's a lot of good information. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot out there, but you've taken a lot of time to research them. In other communities that have let this in, what have you seen? For people who maybe don't know about data centers or think like, hey, if it would bring revenue here, this would be a good thing.
Correct. Well, I toured the Ellendale data center that is actually located in North Dakota a year and a half ago, as they had built one of their buildings.
Okay.
And it has stretched now to 360 acres, 7 buildings. And we drove around, Laura Nelson and I drove around the community and visited with several individuals who actually live within these data centers. And at the time, about 50% were happy with it and 50% weren't.
Okay.
Now, in today's world, as they're continuing to build, and yes, they are, the community is booming with construction workers and, the gas stations and the quick stops. But when it's all said and done, they are suffering from brownouts. They are having to turn, to moderate their electrical grid, their electricity, their air conditioner. Irrigators cannot necessarily run if they're powered by any kind of an electrical function. Water has become a precious resource. This is not something that you just want to welcome in to your community without some serious thought on what we're going to do and who is going to be a priority of the community. In the state of South Dakota, in the last session, we passed a data center bill of rights, basically meaning the people of South Dakota have a right to their electricity, to water, to noise. I mean, if we don't want the pollution of noise, we have a right to a peaceful, safe, secure South Dakota, prosperous South Dakota. And if we don't want to have that in our community, we should have a say. Well, it passed, not overwhelmingly. It passed overwhelmingly in the House, but not so much in the Senate. But it is in law. So these data centers definitely there is a need to regulate them. And I think that is where it's kind of come up out of nowhere here in South Dakota. And they're trying to push them through without the will of the people. And this is all about the will of the people.
If that's what we want our land, if that's what we want to be next to, be around.
Correct.
And like I said, I always approach things from the perspective of health. So they're concerning to me, that's just a blinking red alarm for me. And the more research I've done, you see communities that have welcomed it in. I mean, you went directly to the community in North Dakota, but they're all over the United States.
Yes.
And a large majority of the citizens in those communities, no one is happy that they came.
Correct.
Right? Like they might be a little shiny in the beginning. They're sold. I was at the county commission meeting, like I said, and the gentleman that was representing the company that is looking to bring the data center in here. I mean, it was very like, oh, it's, it wrapped up in a nice bow. It doesn't sound that bad, but everyone should do their own research. And you look at communities where these have come in and it's very alarming. And it's not something that I would want in a community, where I'm raising my child, where my family is.
Correct.
And so I would definitely appreciate more time to look into what it would mean for our community, certainly putting in guidelines. So I just don't understand how that would be something that, everyone wouldn't want.
Exactly. Well, and that's just it. If the people get involved, they fail. So that's why they push these initiated proposals, and they do NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and so they do a lot of the work behind closed doors, and then they figure out how to phrase it with their team of 1,000 lawyers to make it sound so fabulous. And we're going to give money to the school, and we're going to give money to the old folks home, and we're going to make your roads and your everything better. While we're beating them up, building this data center, we're going to put everything back the way it was. Well, no, you don't, because you have this megatropolis building out in the middle of the country that makes more noise than we've ever had to experience, and and you are draining our resources. And do we really, as Yankton County, need that instead of just encouraging small business owners to come in and hire people to come work?
Well, and at the end of it, how many is it going to employ?
Exactly.
There was kind of a contradiction with the gentleman who was representing them. It's going to bring all this, but it's not going to require much.
Correct.
The facility is kind of just going to be this buttoned up.
Correct. Well,
self-sufficient.
the one in Ellendale, I actually cornered I guess it was the spokesperson for the data centers up there when they had the one location, one building, which is the size of a football field. Now they have 7. And
which is the norm.
Which is the norm.
That's
exactly.
not, you're not just going to get that. It's going to grow.
Exactly. And they have, what you have to remember is, and realize, is that they have lined up generators, diesel power generators, the size of a semi-truck trailer in the back that they use until they're able to gear up enough power to power this enormous amount of power that they require. And they've also proposed 20,000 more wind towers to stretch across the North Dakota landscape. Now, whether you like wind towers or not, they're something that I do think disrupt our landscape. And not only that, they are disruptive to the people that have to live near them. And typically, they're not the ones that are getting paid for that wind tower to be near their property. It's some out-of-state or basically people who live in Yankton and are benefiting from having land out in the country, and they're getting the check while the rest of the people that live amongst them are getting nothing but the noise and the disruption to their lives and the EMF fields and everything else. So the data centers are kind of running the same way as the wind tower debacle, because so much of it is done behind closed doors, and then it's just presented and sold to the public without any public input. If it's going to go in our county, it needs to have public input. And if you're changing the zoning in an ag area to commercial, and you're not going through the processes to do that, then why do we have zoning? Then why do we even have it? Then why have regulations of anyone? I mean, we regulate CAFOs, confined animal feeding operations, and we have strict regulations, but yet we're going to allow a hyperscale data center or any kind of a data center to go into our out in the country on our ag zone land just because someone wants to meet the 2030 deadline. I mean, no. I just feel like this ordinance is very, very important, and we need to have a vote of the people.
I think so too, and I appreciate you for raising awareness. I think it's something that once it gets in, quite frankly, you're kind of screwed.
Yes,
and
you're
so
done.
I think it's really appropriate to take the right amount of time to assess it and see if this is what we want.
Correct.
And like I said, from the health perspective, it's very concerning. And it doesn't matter what you and I think. At the end of the day, it's what the majority of the public wants. And as long as they know this is being proposed and this is what, could happen in our community, I think it's important for people to know that and
I agree.
Be able to say, no, we want this, no, we don't want this, or yes, we want this. And at least then they're the ones
that get to decide. And that's what needs to happen. And that's the way it should, all of these decisions, these large decisions.
That affect so much more than just your community. But,
yes.
And you hear the argument, obviously technology is everywhere. We can't stop it. AI is growing faster than probably you or I would like to see it. And there are a lot of benefits that come from it. And it is what it is. It's going to continue to go the way it's going, whether we like it or not. But it doesn't mean that we would have to put a large data center in our county.
Correct.
Right? Like data centers are going in.
Correct.
Technology is moving at the speed of light. It's all coming whether we like it or not, but our community doesn't have to have that.
Correct. Well, the research I've done is the circuits and the actual technology inside these data centers is outdated in 2 years. And this is why in the state of South Dakota, they proposed legislation to give these data centers free sales tax, 0 sales tax on all the components that go into these data centers.
Because they have to buy them so often.
Because they're constantly having to update their technology, and they want the South Dakota residents of South Dakota to basically give them a freebie and not have to pay sales tax. And to me, I mean, I own my own business. You own your own business. We have to pay sales tax. And so why do they get
mega multi-trillion dollar,
billion dollar
billion-dollar industry.
The majority of the data centers are owned by a handful of companies.
Mm-hmm.
And so why are we giving them any kind of a sales tax
Mm-hmm.
break? And not only that, it wasn't just 1 or 2 years. They wanted it for 50 years. So there is so much, I mean, yes, misinformation, disinformation, but those are the facts. And that's
Those are the facts.
those are the facts. That's what these data centers want. So how is that enhancing anyone's life in South Dakota, Yankton County, the city of Yankton, the city of Utica, Gayville, Vollen? I mean, how is that helping anyone?
How is that helping? How would anyone want that? You know, I mean, everyone knows Erin Brockovich.
Yes,
right?
yes.
You know, I mean, she's been sounding the alarms on these for a very long time, and a lot of her views, you know, align with a lot of my views in terms of health.
Yes.
And, you know, she's just like, this is Hinkley on steroids. These are Hinkley on steroids. I mean, I think that's a whole other component. There's so many different components, but like, you know, I keep going back to the health, and I just don't think that should be dismissed. And
correct.
You know.
Correct. Well, you know, and it's taking from our natural resources, which of course is going to affect everyone that is surrounding them and here in the county. But we don't know the effects, like we had talked about, that EMF or that heat going into the ground, and how that's going to affect, and how many miles it stretches either way, and how it affects the atmosphere. We just don't know. And why would we want to be the test tube or the testing spot for
in our beautiful land of South Dakota? I mean, it's a treasure.
Yes,
and you know, it just, that would be very disheartening. And you obviously farm life.
Yes.
Have you spoken with other farmers that are near data centers? I mean,
yes.
So is it true their cows become infertile?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I just received a phone call from a gentleman that I have a very good relationship that I serve with on the stock growers here in South Dakota, and we have a connection in Texas. And it's very true. The infertility that's happening in his heifer and his cattle herd over the last 2 years has dropped significantly since they put a data center within 2-mile range of his livestock. So yes, it is true.
It's true. It's real. You've done the work. You're not out here talking. I mean,
no.
You know, and I appreciate you putting in the time. I appreciate you sounding the alarm. And like I said, like we've said, let the people decide.
Yes.
You know,
sign the petition, and then you can decide whether or not you vote yes or no.
Yes.
Yes would be, let's put these ordinances in place. And we're not banning data centers. We're just basically saying, if you're going to come here, you need to play by the rules. We have ordinances in place for all the other businesses that require natural resources, the CAFOs, and, camping ground. We have ordinances for campgrounds. Why are we allowing a data center to come in under a service establishment agreement, which is like a restaurant?
Yes.
A data center is not
like a restaurant.
No. Or a dry cleaner.
No.
Or a car dealership. It is a mega suck of all of our natural resources. And more than anything, we just do not know the effects.
We don't know the effects. And I think that's with anything that's new. Restaurants have been around, if you use a restaurant example, a car dealership, this is brand new. Anything brand new, you don't just jump in and say, let's party. Like you want to know what you're jumping into and how it's going to affect in a couple of years, 10 years, 50 years, right? And I mean, this is a community where a lot of people move back to, a lot of families, you have generations here. So it's a place we want to preserve. So, I mean, I'm certainly passionate about it. I appreciate you, like I said, taking the time and educating people and getting this petition started.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And it's not just me. There's a lot of folks that are working really hard to make sure that that we do preserve Yankton County.
Absolutely. And like I said, we talked about, you are our current representative for District 18, and you've been in the legislature for
4 years.
For 4 years. So you've seen a lot.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And I easily could have ran again for the legislature, but I saw the need, and that's why I ran, is because I love this county. I love the people of this county, and they deserve the best. And I felt I would be doing a better job serving 5 on a board of 5 versus 105. My voice would be a little bit more strong and more needed here in the county versus working in the legislature. So that's why I'm going to serve on the Yankton County Commission for the time being.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.